Hey guys, welcome to a brand new video. In this video we'll be talking about the top metal albums of 2022, and stick around till the end of the video because right here on my right hand side I've got my top 4 metal albums of this year, so stay tuned in for that. A great year for metal. There were just so many metal releases at the beginning of this year, middle of this year, and towards the end of this year, and that's just awesome news for all metal heads. So let's start with the very first album, and I'm not rating any of these albums, I'm just presenting them as the top metal albums of 2022. The rating is gonna be later. Anyways, AMARTH, great album release. I pretty much loved every single track on this album. I still prefer the Berserker album better than this, but this is an awesome release and I highly recommend it. I actually ended up getting this on vinyl, but my vinyl was kind of scratched, so I had to return it back and get the digipack version. AMARTH actually collaborate with the band Saxon on the song Saxons and Vikings, and that was such a cool concept. Highly recommend it. Check the new album out, The Great Heathen Army. Alrighty. Megadeth, they released their new album, The Sick, The Dying and the Dead, and I tell you what, I was pumped about this album. I just couldn't wait for this album to come out because Megadeth is my #1 favorite metal band, and I was so looking forward to this album, but I was kind of like a little bit disappointed. But since then, this album has grown on me, and I couldn't pinpoint and work out what was wrong with this album. And I remember like reading a review, somebody posted a comment and they said something about the production quality, and it hit me, and I was like thinking, do you know what? I think that's what the issue is. There's something wrong with the production. There's just, I can't put my finger on it, but there's just something off, and that's just making this whole album sounds less heavier, I suppose. I don't know, I still can't work it out. But anyways, there's some great tracks on it, like The Sick, The Dying and the Dead, awesome track. I even like Night Stalkers. Sabaton is just an amazing track. It's just very thrashy, and We'll Be Back, of course. I think a lot of people heard that single and were quite pumped about this album, and so was I. But nevertheless, highly recommend it. It's a good album. It's grown on me a little bit. Would it be like one of my top Megadeth albums? I don't think so, but it's better than Risk, I would say. Soulfly just did an amazing job on their new album TOTEM. Every single track is just a killer. I don't know how Max Cavalera just keeps on pumping awesome riffs, but he does, and they even got a new guitarist on this album, and the songs are just great. My favorite song on this album is Filth Upon Filth. Highly recommend it. Check it out. TOTEM, Soulfly. The other band I was very surprised by, big time, Skid Row. Look, I'm a huge Sebastian Bach fan, I'm a huge Skid Row fan, and I wish they would be all together, but I must say their new singer Eric, he's done a phenomenal job, and he couldn't be a better fit. He is just perfect for Skid Row at the moment, especially because they don't want to reunite with Sebastian Bach, and I wish they would have found Eric like 10-15 years ago, because that would have made their records sound amazing. Anyways, great album, highly recommended. Pretty much every single song on this is great, so there's no fillers on this. I don't particularly like the album cover, but you know what, we'll take it. I'm still spinning this CD regularly. Alestorm's new album, Seventh Rum of a Seventh Rum. I reckon the middle part and the end part is better than the beginning, but a great release. I mean, these guys are just funny, but they're great musicians, and their songs are actually pretty heavy, and I love the use of their double kicks, how they use that in their songs. It's just done so perfectly, and just great fun album, a fun metal album. I would love to watch these guys play live, and yeah, looking forward to that hopefully someday soon. Alrighty. Arch Enemy released their new album. It's pretty good, because I'm still spinning it, you know. That's how I work out which album is actually good. As long as I keep on spinning it, that means that album is great. So the album is called DECEIVERS, and they did a great job on this new album. Lots of cool songs, and my favorite song is Handshake with Hell, which is track number 1. But all the other songs are great, and especially towards the end as well, like Morning Star, One Last Time, Exile from Earth. Great tracks, highly recommend it. And this is a digipack as well. Alright, so Sabaton released their new album at the beginning of this year, and I wasn't game to buy this album. But the moment I heard few songs and upon its release date, I listened to it on Apple Music, and I knew I had to go and pick this up. And I'm still listening to this album because this album is just fantastic. Their songs sounds a little bit more heavier on this particular album in comparison to what they've done before. Still the same formula, but it works, and it's great. My favorite track on this album is actually Christmas Truce, and and Stormtroopers Dreadnought. Pretty much, once again, I know I keep on saying this, that every single song on all of these albums sounds great. It's actually true. That's how I feel, and I feel like the bands are working very hard these days to produce a great album of great songs and not worry about fillers. So Sabaton, The War to End All Wars, highly recommend it. And on a side note, you should actually check out Civil War's new album as well. I've forgotten what's it called, but Civil War were the guys who used to be in Sabaton, and then they actually formed their second band called Civil War. They kind of like sing about similar stuff, war, but related to Civil War. And that album is pretty cool. So that album came out a few months after this. Alright, Scorpions released their album at the beginning of this year, and do you know what? I haven't purchased the Scorpion albums for a while, but I'm glad I got this because this album is just a fun hard rock album. There's just a lot of tracks on this album. It's also a double CD, the one I've got, which is a deluxe version. But great fun album, and I can't believe these guys are actually still going on so strong, and they're doing a great job. My favorite tracks on this album are Gas in the Tank, Knock 'Em Dead, Rock Believer. Just fun stuff. Highly recommend it. So the album is actually called Rock Believer. Check it out. Alright, Hammerfall. I've never listened to these guys before. They are a power metal band, and they released their album at the beginning of this year. It's called Hammer of Dawn. It might be a little bit cheesy for some people, but you know, that's power metal, and highly recommend it. It's I'm still listening to this every now and then, so quite impressed by this album. Hammer of Dawn by Hammerfall. Check it out. Alrighty, now let's go to my top 4 albums, and I must say that I could shuffle these top 4 albums in any order, and I could put any one of them as my number 1 album because they're all so good. Highly recommend it. But for this particular video, let's start with number 4, and I'm just hiding my albums underneath this. Alrighty, Slipknot's new album, The End So Far. I am very impressed by this album and regularly listening to this album. I wasn't too impressed by their last album, which was okay, but this album was something special. Like, I think people had like mixed feelings about it. I think it was great. They've got a good coverage in terms of the heavy stuff and the lighter stuff. And yeah, so my favorite song on this album is Finale, Adderall. The Dying Song is awesome. Warranty is great. Pretty much all the tracks. I like to listen to this album from the beginning till the end. So Slipknot's The End So Far on number 4. Highly recommend it. I will actually even pick this up on vinyl when I get a chance. Alrighty. On number 3, Machine Head's new album of Kingdom and Crown. Oh, this album is just wow. My number one favorite Machine Head album is Blackening, and this comes right after Blackening. This album is just so good. Arrows in Words from the Sky. Oh man, check that song out. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. And Rotten, it's like a big thrasher, and I love it. So yeah, I couldn't be happier getting this on vinyl, and I'm spinning this all the time. So this is number 3, and on number 2, and once again could be number 1 as well, Lamb of God's brand new album Omens. I just didn't realize they will produce something so amazing. After Ashes of the Wake and Sacrament, I thought, the other albums were great, but there's just something special about this album. It's just like you listen to it and right from the get-go, you're like, okay, there's just something special about it. And you want to listen to it over and over and over and again. And I tell you what, a lot of my friends who are fans of Lamb of God, they feel exactly the same way. Highly recommend this. So this is number 2. Number 1 for me at this stage, and it could be number 4 as well, is this band called Visions of Atlantis. And I've been trying to listen to these guys for so many years, but could just never get into them. And finally they released this album called Pirates, and I quite liked the album artwork, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. And the moment I started to listen to it, I was just hooked. It was just like, wow. I had to order my copy from UK. I think it arrived, Amazon UK. So it took a long time, but I eventually got it on vinyl because this album is great. So yeah, and as I said before, like if I was to shuffle any of my top 4 releases, I could actually put this as number 1, Machine Head as number 2, and Slipknot as number 3, and Visions of Atlantis as number 4. Yeah, so that's it, guys. These are my top metal releases of 2022, and thank you so much for supporting my channel throughout this year. Thank you so much to the old subscribers and also to the new subscribers. And if you're here for the first time, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also hit that bell button so you'll get notified every time I post a new video. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and keep it metal, and see you guys next year.